So one day, I was going to private school, and I'm on the principal's steps once again for acting out. And two of my all-time favorite teachers, to today, they are still my two favorite educators. I saw them coming down the hallway towards me. My stomach began to be in knots. And as my stomach was in knots, they came to me and they said, Nicole, come in this classroom, we want to talk to you. So as they called me over to the classroom to talk to me, they said, you are a sweet, phenomenal girl. Why is it that you keep getting in trouble at school? And y'all, my secret was out the bag. They realized that I started getting in trouble all the time because I didn't want people to know that I had a learning disability. So they called my parents, and they told my parents that they needed to come and pick me up and possibly take me for testing because I possibly had a learning disability. So my parents took me to a hospital in Chicago called Michael Reese, if anybody is in here from Chicago. When we got to Michael Reese, we walked into this big-ass room, right? And it had tall windows, and there were doctors in there with these white coats on that came down to their knees. And as we were in there, they started running these battery of tests on me. And as those battery of tests start getting more and more and more, we doing science and math and language arts, and they bringing these puzzles out that got triangles and circles and all of this stuff on it. About 3 or 4 hours later, they came back and they said, Nicole, remember I'm 9 years old. They said, Nicole, you have a learning disability. And they looked at my parents and they said, Nicole has what's called photogenic dyslexia. For anybody that's in here that doesn't know what photogenic dyslexia is, it's when you look at the word was, but you see saw. So I would transpose the entire word. In that moment, y'all, I just felt, for lack of a better word, just stupid and dumb. See, in schools, when people are different, they group them into small classrooms and put them on small buses, and they make them feel more alienated than they already do, right? And in most situations, teachers don't understand how to make people feel special when they're different. And they don't understand that different doesn't mean deficit, it simply means different, right? Now, while some kids looked at me and talked about me and made fun of me, there was one teacher that took me by the hand and she poured into me. She was the first person that told me that in spite of all of my tests that I still was smart and that I could. She helped me reach deep and push past myself. She taught me the importance of showing up consistently. Not just showing up consistently, but showing up consistently, authentically. And not just authentically, but to make sure that every room that I graced and every stage that I graced, that I showed up my authentic self. And she told me that if I showed up my authentic self, the people that would be my tribe will automatically attract to me, as opposed to me trying to duck and hide inside of these rooms. She also told me something else that stuck with me to today, which is part of my success. She told me that the things that you do repeatedly will be the things that you become successful at, the things that you'll master. See, that was a damn educator right there, right? Fast forward, I had a daughter of my own, and I realized that my daughter had, which I'm not gonna call it a disability like everybody else did, she had the ability like I had. So I took her on a video shoot with a really successful rapper. Years ago, she's 28 now. She was young then, not even quite, just made a teenager. So I took her on this video shoot with me, and she saw all of the fancy cars, the big, beautiful house, all of the big jewelry. Some of the jewelry is big and gaudy, right? She still loved it anyway. Anyway, so she saw all of the famous, successful people. And I saw a sparkle in my daughter's eyes that I had never seen, a sparkle that I was never able to give her in the past. And in that moment, I realized that I just might not be my daughter's superhero anymore. Right then, in that moment, she was mesmerized. And that very moment was my aha moment. It was my aha moment because I realized that I could no longer go to work at this 9 to 5 because that 9 to 5 was not going to help me make enough money to be able to pour time into my child. It wasn't going to give me the time freedom that I needed to give to her. It wasn't going to give me the financial freedom that I need to make enough money to make sure that when the other kids were in school reading about the pyramids, and because my daughter was like me and we couldn't comprehend what we were reading, I needed to be successful enough and have enough money to take her to see pyramids while other people were just reading about them. I needed to give her the experience. So, some people will wait for crisis, trauma, or disease. They'll wait for loss or some type of tragedy before they make the conscious decision in their mind to change. See, you can change if you just put your mind to it. So I ask you right now the same question that I asked myself in that very moment. Are you going to wait for pain and tragedy to change, or are you going to change out of joy and inspiration? See, my baby was my inspiration, so in that moment, I knew I had to change for inspiration, right? So in that aha moment, I knew for a fact that my daughter, and now my 2 daughters, were going to forever be my big why. And when you become successful, you have to do what's called a gut check and understand what your big why was. So my daughters turned into my big why, right? So now, let's fast forward to my trigger moment. There are times in life when you're going to have an aha moment. Your aha moment is going to be that moment that dictates what happens that makes you conscious and woke. And then you're going to have a trigger moment. The trigger moment is that moment that you have when you have to take massive action behind that aha moment, right? So in my aha moments and in my trigger moments, that's where my success developed, right? So I no longer was going to be that person that was going to listen to society and what society deemed as right, normal, or audacious. Because when you do that, society will plague you with this induced stagnation. And they'll plague you with this induced stagnation. And in that induced stagnation, what will turn around and happen is that you'll just become paralyzed and you just won't do anything, or you won't have enough love for yourself to believe in you that you can. I knew that I could not let what society deemed as the life and the outcomes for a person with a learning disability, or what they said about me, photogenic dyslexia, I couldn't let that be my reality any longer. I knew that I had to jump up and take massive action. And not only did I have to take massive action, I had to make it bigger than just about me. I had to make it about people, because I know that there's people that look like me, that dress like me, that talk like me, are too embarrassed to be able to say, I'm having a hard time. So I had to do it for my babies, but I also had to do it for everybody else. So today, I stand before you, and I'm not going to talk to you about my successful construction company. I'm not going to talk to you about my successful real estate investments. I'm not going to talk to you about my successful credit repair business. I'm not going to talk to you about the millions and millions of dollars that I've made and all of the people that I've helped make millionaires too. I'm not going to talk to you about that, because all of that is just a byproduct of understanding if you pour into people, the success will come, right? Thank you. So I remember one day I was on an elevator, right? I was working at this company called Healthfield. And I got on an elevator with the president of the company. His name was Tony Strange. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, and y'all, I ain't no morning person, right? I'm not a morning person. So as I got on that elevator, Tony got on and he says, "Good morning, Nicole." I said, "Good morning, Tony." I said, "How are you doing this morning?" He said, "I'm amazing, I'm phenomenal, I'm just terrific." So I'm like, "Tony, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. How do you know that the morning is starting off so phenomenal?" So Tony told me, I get up every day and I have the ability to do what I love to do, so it never feels like a minute of work. I'm gonna get that to y'all again, let me run it back. I get up every day and get an opportunity to do what I love, so it never feels like a minute of work. I walked away from that conversation understanding that if I can find out what I love to do and I could do it every day, I would subconsciously perfect it. And in perfecting it, I would master it. See, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the levels of our habits. Come on now. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our habits. Whatever you consistently get up and do every day is what you'll become. So in that conversation with Tony, it took me full circle back to my conversations with Miss Martin. What I didn't understand about Miss Martin then that I understand today is that she was a servant leader. It's a difference in between, can y'all agree with me that it's a difference in between being a leader and a servant leader? Absolutely. If we can just mimic those feelings that Mrs. Martin gave me when she poured into me, if we could just mimic those feelings that Tony gave me. See, as a leader, Ms. Martin didn't spout orders out to me. Tony wasn't yelling at me about policies and procedures. They were simply pouring into me about the things that would make me successful in life, and it changed my life. People won't always hear what you say, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So in those moments when I was spending time with Tony, when I was spending time with Mrs. Martin, I forgot all about the fact that when I was 9 years old, they told me that, and told my parents that I would never be able to comprehend. And the reason why I forgot it was because I had people that were pouring into me. See, as leaders, we have a responsibility to breathe life, confidence, and inspiration into those around us. And that's what a servant leader is about. And every day now, I can get up and I can walk comfortably in my shoes, and I can show up in any room because I understand that my only goal every day in life is to pour into people, serve people, and that's exactly how each one of my businesses is successful. Think about this. If we can teach people when they're in the midst of fear, because we all have those moments where we're fearful and we have that nervous feeling in our stomach. Think about when you have that nervous feeling in your stomach, if you replace that nervous feeling with an aha moment. Because remember, that aha moment is when you're conscious about what's going on inside of you, conscious about what's going on in your life, and conscious about the actions that need to be taken. And then you take that and use it as a trigger moment. And if you take that and use it as a trigger moment and create massive action, now you have a business, a Fortune 500 company, you have a world, you have children that are very conscious in this world and are massive action takers. Can you imagine if we had a world full of aware people that were massive action takers? What a wonderful world that would be. We kick stagnation out of our conversations. We kick fear out of our conversations. And we show up every room that we go into, disability or not, and stand like we belong there. See? Because you can't be a big fish in shallow water. You gotta swim into the deep end. You gotta get out there, you gotta take the chance. So if you give people the freedom of expression and the freedom to understand their aha moments and their trigger moments, now we're creating a society of success. I wanna leave you guys with this. This little black girl from Chicago, that they told was most likely, you know how in most high schools, most colleges, you had that person that was most likely to succeed? Well, I was the one that was voted most likely not to succeed because of my learning disability, because I was alienated in those short classes. But guess what? That same person that they talked about today, that's standing in front of you, extremely successful, created successful people behind me, is right here on the stage doing a TED Talk, y'all. Despite your circumstances, say it with me, despite my circumstances, You have the ability to do anything you want to do. If you just make a conscious effort to show up and show up differently. Today, I want you guys to walk out of here and be something that they can't Google. Authentically you.